Let me read something to you and the police chief. I found this last night, even before I knew I was going to do this show. This is why, having lived here a long time, when I hear the mayor and you and the police chief saying, we're doing everything we can. We can minimize, we can't eliminate it. This is Jacksonville, Florida. They had a 12-year study, Reducing Murder, a Community Response. And these are the things they say beyond a shadow of a doubt do not work. Gun buyback programs, which amazes me. Community mobilization against crime in general and high crime poverty areas. Summer jobs or subsidized work programs for at-risk youth. Diversion from court to job training as a condition of case dismissal. Increase arrests on raids on drug market locations. Those are the things they say don't work. But those are the things I hear all the time from across the country. If we'll just implement A, B, and C, everything's going to be okay. It's not that simple, is it?
No, it's not. And what you find in those kinds of studies, I haven't seen it, but I'm very familiar with the way that works. What you've got to do is you've got to look at all those programs help people who want to be helped. That's the key. The people who want to be helped and be rehabilitated and be educated will always come out of the criminal justice system successfully. What we have in the nation, and that's what we talk about when you talk about 15,000 people being murdered in this country every year, what we have, unfortunately, is the inability to wrap our brains around the fact sometimes that some folks have just made their mind up to be killers and thugs. And that's all they're ever going to do. Those people, retribution, meaning behind bars, is the only solution, is the only answer.
How many people are we talking about? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands?
In a city, in most cities in America, it's going to be somewhere between 2 to 3% are involved in some sort of a crime of the population.
2 to 3%.
2 to 3%. Oh, absolutely. It's a very small number.
So we're talking about 3,000?
And then inside of that is where you find the terribly violent ones, and that's a much smaller number.
And that's in the hundreds.
Yeah. What we do here, and we've talked about it a lot, we added another CompStat process. And, I always want to make sure I'm careful of this because when people disagree with our points, some of them say we're just making excuses. Well, it's not an excuse when you're talking about the facts and the data. So here's one of the facts and data we talk about. We added another CompStat meeting, this accountability thing, on every Tuesday at 8:30. We sit down, and that's exactly what we do. We target the top 25 offenders in this community that we think are the most violent and most likely to be violent. And what we see unfailingly is the lifestyle of crime that they chose and have committed themselves to, not unlike you've committed yourself to journalism. I mean, that's what they do, and people don't want to recognize that. Let me give you this stuff. This isn't about blaming the victim, folks, and I don't want anybody to think that, but let's talk about the facts. The man who was killed on Bourbon Street last night has a family, and we respect his family and the loss that they've suffered. But let me tell you what. He's been arrested for 5 felonies, 17 misdemeanors. He was on probation at the time of last night's event. He's been arrested for heroin, oxycodone, marijuana, resisting and obstructing officers, fighting the police, false and inaccurate. I mean,
exactly what I just read to you about New York.
That's the point. So what we've got to do is never lose sight of the fact that we're in this as a war to battle. We're going to win. We're going to fight. But there are some people that the courts just have to keep in prison. Let me tell you this too, Garland. I read this in the newspaper sometimes, and I struggle with it. Well, we shouldn't be putting these first-time offenders in prison. Do you really think a first-time offender ends up in prison? Unless it's for murder or rape? No, they ain't going to prison. They're getting double secret super probation and all these types of diversion techniques that are not always working.